Welcome to another episode of The Neophytes, a special series within the Never Close the Inquiry podcast, wherein my good friend Thomas Maybe and I sit down and talk about current issues in politics. We are not experts, neither of us, and that's kind of the whole point. If we repeated our conversation today with the benefit of more time to think things through, it would be different, maybe in small ways and maybe in big ways. The message we're trying to convey is that it's okay not to know. It's okay to keep learning, and it's okay to change your mind. In fact, it's probably good. The fact that you believed something before doesn't mean that when presented with new information or upon reconsideration, you're still locked into that prior view. It's okay, in other words, to never close the inquiry. So, Thomas, welcome back after
Thank you.
a hiatus of sorts, prompted by certainly nothing more than your hosts' respective
Lives.
mental hangups and whatnot. We are back, and let's start as we always do with a note for our sponsors. So I, of course, have Dr. Pepper Zero Blackberry, which is the best cough syrup on the market. You have what do you have?
I have whatever the yellow.
That's white.
That's
I think.
white Monster Zero something.
With L-carnitine.
Yeah, doesn't mess up my stomach too bad. So
I remember in high school or maybe around 18 when we were graduating, and a couple of us had really. We weren't just, like I had started working out a little earlier, I think, but with less knowledge. And by the time, we got like 17, 18, some of the guys had older siblings that had given us some programs and whatnot, doing a little more lifting. And I remember, the prospect of supplementation starts getting interesting. You got a couple of people that are taking creatine. We didn't until a long time later.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode is also brought to you by creatine monohydrate, one of the best natural supplements on the market.
Yep.
But yeah, we were in our 30s when we started taking it. But at that time, I remember someone saying something about L-carnitine, about it burning fat, or something like that would have appealed to someone who was trying to get in awesome shape. And it was. There were a couple of versions. Do you remember Sobe?
Yes.
The drinks?
Yeah.
Those were good. And a couple of those, one of them had L-carnitine. I remember as an 18-year-old that had money from summer jobs and whatnot, going and buying that Sobe so I could have the L-carnitine to get in better shape.
Yeah. Well, the things we do, I guess.
Yeah, and things, frankly, we kind of still do. Let's see. Other sponsors, H2O, of course.
Yep.
So we have to credit.
Most important.
I think we have to credit God and the Utah Public Utility System for that, and our fridge, which filtered it. Should probably replace the filter. But then also one new special sponsor for today, Bethpage Black, Bethpage State Park. It's on Long Island, New York. It's going to be the site of the 2025 Ryder Cup. I golfed 2 times.
So it's golf.
It is golf, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ryder Cup of golf.
I was thinking either you were cycling or riding a paper or something.
No. I should flip the hat around. You can see the little golfer. Yeah. No, I'm not cycling. Not a biker. But yeah, so I golfed 2 times while we lived in New York. I golfed more than that, but I golfed mostly when we were back here visiting. My parents like to golf, and back there I golfed 2 times. One time was at a country club where a friend was a member, and we had it was some work friends went and golfed. That was fun. Didn't play particularly well, and because I'm not particularly good, I should note. It was not an abnormally bad day of
You know,
golf.
you just not golfed in a while. That's why you weren't good.
Sure. Well, credit to
Yeah.
that. And then the other time my parents came in town, it's like, here, this is one of the best best and cheapest, great public courses in the country, like where they have professional tournaments. And, it's still expensive, but it's the sort of thing that you can justify more easily than like a Pebble Beach. I think because Kaylee and I were New York residents, it was in the low hundreds, like 120 or something to play 18 holes.
Uh-huh.
And we go, and I had borrowed a putter from a friend. So the putter was more expensive than like the rest of my clubs. And we go out there on Long Island, and we got it's really hard to get a tee time there because it's an open reservation system. And so you have to refresh your internet browser just constantly at the right time to try and get one. And I thought we did it perfectly and still got one. This is like in October, and it was a 4 o'clock tee time, so we were going to be racing in the dark. And so we only got 14 holes before we had to whip out the glow-in-the-dark balls. And though it turns out maybe there are nicer ones on the market, the ones we got didn't really work.
Oh, jeez.
So they would like glow, and then you'd hit it, and then it would stop glowing, which was kind of a problem because you could see it to hit it, but then you're never going to find it. It's like pitch black, and your ball's gone. And
you need like a GPS. They probably have that now, I'm sure.
They probably do. I'm sure there's a nicer version, but anyway, but with this super nice putter, I two-putted 14 holes in a row without a single par because I had not made it on one green in regulation.
Most of the time, if you're putting in two, that's okay for a normal person.
That's great. You should run to some pars.
Okay-ish.
Yeah. Nope. Not a single green in regulation. So, bogeyed, at least bogeyed every single
Something's
hole.
got to keep you humble, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, golf being one of them. Have we talked about the Hagen ski golf corollary here? I don't think we have.
Don't know.
Okay, this is actually one of my best theories, probably the best thinking I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It might
Is this what your book will be about? I hope.
Yeah, I think it's entirely about the ski golf corollary. This is more relevant to people who grow up in Utah and other places where skiing and golfing are like to ski means you drive 25 minutes into the canyon rather than like take up a big trip. So it's something you can decide like day of, or something that maybe you have a program through your elementary school. Which, looking back, it was kind of crazy. Did you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not from Salt Lake, it's not entirely unusual here to have like a ski program through your public elementary school.
Yeah, and they'll like
cool.
bus you from the school.
Yeah.
To just literally from school to the location. It's just
every Friday
it's pretty
for
crazy.
a couple months. In elementary school, we would just go up and ski after school on Fridays. It's awesome. I guess that turns out not everyone across the country is doing that. But anyway, so the ski golf corollary. When someone invites you to ski, at first, depending on who you are, it's not like it can seem like a lot. Like it's cold. You got to get all your clothes and whatnot. Like it's kind of a hassle. It's a big hang up,
It's kind of like going camping.
Yeah, it feels like a lot. And it's the sort of thing where someone asks me to go, I'm not disappointed if I can't. Or it's like, it's expensive, I'm not going to go, whatever. And then, maybe you get roped into it, and okay, you're going to try and go up early so you can be on the mountain, before all the crowds show up. It's like you're kind of annoyed. All right, okay, this is really a lot. Then, on the bus, certainly growing up on the ski bus, you'd be smelling the exhaust, and I used to get really car sick. But once you're actually skiing, it is so incredibly fun. It is. I have personally never had a bad day of skiing. Every time it's like, I would be totally fine if we didn't do this. And then by, a third of the way through run number one, it's like, this is the coolest thing ever. I wish I did this more often. I wish it was cheaper, whatever. Golf, to me, is it's the inverse. Because anytime someone asks if I want to golf, I want to golf. Even if I've had such a bad round the last time, where I leave the last round saying, I need to go to a range 20 times before I go out on the course again. Someone says, do you want to golf? I say, Of course I want to golf.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I feel that for sure.
Yeah. And then, and we should note, that's another thing. We're in Salt Lake. I think golfing's cheaper here than it is just about anywhere.
It must be.
There's still, like when we were in high school, you could golf 9 holes at Nibley for like $7.
I mean,
It's more expensive now. But
at the U
not
Golf
by a
course
ton.
when it still existed. I bought a summer pass once for like, I don't know, it was like probably $30 or something.
Yeah.
And
I forgot the U course.
the dates were written on a card. So it said like, this card's good from this date to this date.
Yeah.
And the guy had written it in permanent marker after it had been laminated.
Classic mistake.
So I just changed the dates. So I golfed for free for a long time.
Oh.
But sadly, they got rid of that system at some point. I don't know why they would.
Yeah, that's weird.
But
That's a shame.
yeah.
Yeah. And then they got rid of the course. Devastating.
Yeah, and then I frolfed on it.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and then they got rid of that.
Yep. Now it's parking lots.
Devastating. For this, we will blame capitalism. Because they weren't making money on the golfers, apparently.
Yeah.
But the point is, golf, like, anytime someone says, do you want to golf? You say, yeah, like, that sounds incredibly fun. And then you go, and by the second hole, half the time, you are viscerally angry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you hit a bad tee shot on the first hole. It's like, okay, all right, it was first shot, whatever. Didn't really warm up. But then your second shot's bad too. And it's like now you're starting to get pretty mad. Then you 3-putt, and like now, and then you spend the rest of the day like there are brief moments of sunshine when you hit a good shot, but most of it you're like shrouded in kind of anger. And I've had rounds where, in part because you keep hitting a shot from a spot where you've lost a ball, like you end up losing a dozen balls.
Let's try that again.
Yeah. Oh, that ball went in the water. All right, I'm gonna hit it again. So you hit 3 balls into the pond before you just give up and don't play the rest of the hole. And anyway, so the ski golf corollary is skiing. It's like, okay, I don't really want to go, but then you go and you have an incredible time. And then golf, it's like, I absolutely want to golf. Let's go. And then you hate yourself the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So that's the Nick Hagan Ski Golf Corollary. That is the subject of my first book, which will be 950 pages, just about the ski golf corollary.
Good. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the audiobook version.
Yeah, it's gonna take a week, literally a full calendar week to get through it. The other introductory item we wanted to get through today, before we get to our subject,
like 15 minutes.
Jeffrey
of
Epstein.
Yeah.
Sorry. The other introductory note is, I am looking for a job because, the writing and podcasting is not yet enough to support, global empire and such. And so, here I'm a lawyer, so getting a job at a law firm, and I have been interviewing, and there was a set of interviews this last week with a local law firm I rather hope to join. But I show up, I'm wearing my charcoal suit, feeling good about this. I haven't worn it in a while, because, writing and podcasting don't really need to wear as many suits. Haven't worn it in a while. I went and bought a black belt that morning from Men's Warehouse because I've been wearing a tan belt and tan shoes with charcoal suit, which I think you're not really supposed to do.
Man,
it's a little gauche.
Rookie.
So,
man.
Yeah. I had done that in court in New York. But anyway, so I go buy the black belt. I'm excited for these interviews. Really, just feeling good. I show up. I should make one other prefatory note. I rather narrow set hips or something. Point is, a little TMI. Point is, my inner thighs do rub together a fair amount, and they present a real challenge to underwear and pants and things like this. So, anyway,
Is it because your thighs are just so massive?
I wish that were the case. I really don't think it is. I think it's a combination of just like the bone structures. The hips are. There's just not that much distance there.
I think your muscles are just too big for your frame.
We could, yeah.
That's what you should go with.
From the steroids.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to tell people about the steroids, but
all right, we'll cut that out. But I go in, I'd say hi to the secretaries there, and it's like, okay, great, and they tell the recruiting manager she's going to come in, and then I'm going to meet with these 9 lawyers, and I say, okay, great, here you can go sit in one of these nice leather chairs in the lobby to wait. So I go and I sit down, and I notice near like upper leg, the bottom, it feels cool, as if there's nothing between my leg and the chair. And I go, oh, all right, okay. That's not great. This is not actually the first time I felt that. So I go down, I perform a, little search discreetly. And yeah, it turns out a massive hole like down in my pants. And I don't really have any recourse at that point. Luckily, the interviews were all conducted in one room. I wasn't going around to different offices, so I got to sit behind a conference table for a couple hours.
I'm surprised you didn't feel like a breeze as you were walking.
No, just the breeze in my heart. I was excited. I was having a good day, and no, it felt nothing. Felt nothing until I sat down on a leather chair and it felt cold.
I wonder if it would have been better for you not to notice, and then I wonder if that would have affected your behavior. I guess if you're thinking, if you're inside your own head, being like,
yeah,
is anyone looking at my crotch?
I
hope no one's looking at my crotch right now.
Yeah, I actually did mention it to some of the lawyers. When in Rome, I guess.
By the way, I'm trying some crotchless chaps today. It's a thing that they do out in New York. I don't know.
Yeah,
if caught on to this.
Very common among New York lawyers. I don't know. The table thankfully was opaque. I would have been pretty concerned if it weren't. But yeah, no, I definitely sat with my legs maybe pinched a little closer than they would have been normally. Normally, obviously, I would be man spreading because I'm a man.
Because you're an alpha male.
Yes.
Chad.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that option was kind of foreclosed to me. Anyway, hopefully that doesn't doom my chances. But
yep, good luck.
Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the subject of the day. We are going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. But
who?
Before we came on, you were telling me he's a close personal family friend.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw on some comedy show they showed that there was a doctor named Jeffrey Epstein, and he specialized in working with kids.
Oh gosh.
And like how horrible would that be?
Yeah.
Like
that is really tough. Because everyone that gets famous for being horrible, like someone else probably shares that name or some version of that, like after Hitler, like everyone with the last name Hitler, like you got to change that.
Yeah.
Anyone named Adolf, that was a relatively common name in German-speaking countries.
There could have been another Adolf Hitler,
It's plausible. You definitely want to change that.
Yeah.
Chad Johnson or something.
Yeah, but if you're like, a 60-year-old doctor that's worked with kids his whole life, and has a great career and has established himself,
right,
and then this happens, it's like, oh.
That's unfortunate.
Okay. I guess this is my life now.
That is, that's tough. But anyway, so Epstein been a lot in the news recently. Right. I am writing about this right now, so I'm just going to read the first couple of paragraphs of this. We'll go from there. So, according to the FBI, despite Jeffrey Epstein, this is in the FBI's kind of memo, despite Epstein harming over 1,000 victims, which is a stunning number, a systematic review of investigative holdings relating to Epstein revealed no incriminating client list. The FBI did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties, which is saying something. That's a quote. And contrary to the suspicions of a great many, here's a quote, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. Okay, so the big part about that is, or the hardest thing to believe, I think, for even the non-conspiratorial among us is that there is no one else that, based on the massive collection of Epstein files, could be charged with any sort of crime. And it did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation. Sorry, that's a weird way to emphasize it. An investigation against uncharged third parties. They're not saying bring a case, not charge somebody.
Yeah,
Couldn't even predicate an investigation.
So I'm trying not to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why we have, is it Ghislaine or Ghislaine or
Ghislaine.
Ghislaine? Okay.
Ms. Maxwell.
Yeah. So she's been prosecuted and everything.
She's in prison.
And now people are saying, "Oh, well, we need to talk to her about all this stuff." And now I'm sitting here like, "Well, you didn't ask her? Can she not just say who she was involved with and
so
where does that?"
No, there's really fertile ground for, because I think the general sense from a lot of people is that there were very important people involved in this in some way, shape, or form, or that could possibly be implicated. That's like the public sense of it, and that because of that, they're just kind of tamping it down or swallowing it up, or whatever, and saying nothing to see here. Let's move on. From what I've been writing, the FBI's position doesn't square with that of Julie K. Brown of the Miami Herald, she was the investigative journalist who was responsible for reopening the Epstein stuff, and she started to write about him again in, I think, 2017, because he had the sweetheart deal in the 2000s, where he could have been charged with much more than he was hit with, like solicitation of a child. I forget the exact crime, but something really awful, but something for which he basically only spent nights in jail for a limited period, and he was only charged with a fraction of the crimes with which he could have been charged. Wasn't clear why. That was Alex Acosta, who's the relevant party of the DOJ then, who did that. He was let me just pull this up because we have the internet. As U.S. attorney there in Florida in 2007, 2008, he approved a plea deal that allowed child trafficking ringleader Jeffrey Epstein to plead guilty to a single state charge of solicitation in exchange for a federal non-prosecution agreement. And after Epstein was then arrested in July 2019, Acosta faced, this is when Acosta's now the Secretary of Labor, faced renewed and harsher criticism and eventually resigned. But to go back to this, so Brown, who is the investigative reporter who started writing about him in 2017, 2018, and it was her reporting that eventually led to the investigation being reopened and him being arrested in July 2019. So she recently spoke to Ross Dutet, who's a conservative columnist for the New York Times, and I think a pretty darn serious thinker. She spoke to him on his podcast, Interesting Times, and she expressed genuine confusion at the government's insistence that the case is closed, arguing that, as Dutet put it, there are other people out there who are guilty of Epstein's crimes who should face justice and have it. This is the quote from Brown. "Yeah, let me be clear. Epstein did not do this all by himself. He barely tied his shoes by himself. He had butlers and assistants doing everything for him, including the compiling of his contact lists, his musical playlists. He had people doing that for him. His computers, he had lots of people helping him. So he did not do this alone. There were other people helping him, and there were other men who sent some of these women too." Basically, like a guy who doesn't do really anything by himself, the odds that it was solely him and Ghislaine Maxwell who facilitated Epstein racking up over 1,000 victims.
Yeah, it's like a cabal.
Yeah, like that. It seems pretty unlikely for them to be able to do that themselves. And so this whole time, Trump has been acting really weird.
Yeah, weirder than normal.
Much weirder than normal.
Weirder than expected, even.
Yeah. So here's the this was a truth that he put out on July 12th. This is if there's a Trump Hall of Fame, oh man, you know what they should do for presidential libraries now? Should probably include, for most of them it's not going to be relevant, but we should include their like printouts of their best tweets or truths.
I mean,
maybe it's just relevant for Trump.
Well, I will probably starting with Trump at least, because he's used the platform like exclusively for stuff that other presidents would have done in other official ways. But now like you have official interactions back and forth on 2 social media platforms. About serious stuff where like Trump says something to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi responds.
It's we live in a new day and age, and we will save for another time discussion of whether it's a better one. But so here's the Trump truth. What's going on with my, quote, boys, and in some cases, quote, gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world. That's in all caps. It probably is the talk of the world, actually. Mm-hmm. And, quote, selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax? 51, quote, intelligence agents, quote, the laptop from hell, and more. They created the Epstein Files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called, quote, friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein Files?
Because Bill Clinton's name is on it.
Right. Yeah.
There, just solved it for you, Donald.
Okay, figured it out. If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? Bill Clinton. They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. files. Pause for one moment. It is, by a mile, primarily people on the right that have been encouraging the government to release stuff on JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and Jeffrey Epstein. Just, do I have that wrong?
I don't even know. Like, I don't know about the JFK, MLK stuff. I thought that was just people that were interested. I don't know if there was.
I think the people that are interested are primarily maybe Martin Luther King. Maybe that's maybe that's more bipartisan.
I guess I've always considered it just being as something like, oh, that would be nice to know, but I wasn't campaigning or talking to people about it or anything. It was just like, oh, well, that would be nice to know now.
I think the group of people who do not trust the government and want records of the government's misdeeds revealed, I think a higher percentage of them find themselves on the right.
Interesting.
Than the left.
I don't know if I'd agree, but I don't know.
Okay.
I have no.
That could be anecdotal. That's maybe based on the people I know.
I think it's just.
Definitely that's true, I think, with the Epstein Files.
It's an extreme thing. I would imagine the further left you go, the more interested you are in those things, but not necessarily.
Where you're further left, you kind of you're bending around to where you meet the far right.
Yeah.
Again, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Epstein at least, if I think of the dozen people I know who are most focused on sex trafficking, certainly child sex trafficking, as political issues of paramount importance, like things that might actually affect a vote rather than just like, oh, yeah, no, we should not have that. They're all conservative.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think, here in Utah, think of Tim Ballard and people that support him. Not ringing a bell? He's the guy. Tim Ballard.
Is he asking us to pray for the weather?
I don't think he is. Okay. Operation Underground Railroad.
Yes.
That ring a bell?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the anti-sex trafficking stuff that going into foreign countries and to free people. Yeah. So
Oh.
that like basically, yeah, Sound of Freedom was a movie that people might have seen. It actually made really a lot of money. Yeah, I think in terms of anti-sex trafficking, I don't think anyone on either side of the aisle is pro-sex trafficking.
But yeah, well, that's why this has been such a big issue, is that Trump's own base, as he said, that's his boys in quotations,
his guys
or
and his
whatever.
gals, his boys and in some cases gals.
Yeah. Such a weird way to say that.
Oh man.
I mean that's why it's a big deal, because everyone cares about this.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure what the order is.
Yeah.
But Nazis and pedophiles
Sure.
are like, the lowest forms of existence on the planet, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I know you reached up to demonstrate that.
Well, it's
the worst of the worst.
It's the guys that are on top of
the bad pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nazis and pedophiles.
Yeah, so if it's a unifying issue.
It is.
So when there's any ambiguity about your answers regarding it, it's a little weird.
Yeah. And I genuinely do think like when you think of QAnon, a bit, like there are people on the right, kind of the fringes of the right, who have for years been alleging that prominent Democrats have been running sex trafficking rings out of that pizza place in Maryland or wherever.
Pizzagate.
Yeah, Pizzagate.
Yeah.
We're not super familiar
course.
because we are liberals and,
How dare you?
No, but point is, like, what makes this a particularly sensitive issue for Trump, where a lot of other things might be less sensitive, is that he has a pretty good chunk of supporters for whom this is a top-of-the-line issue. Continuing his lengthy truth. Again, that is the funniest name for a tweet. You could just brilliant branding. Democrats should start one besides Blue Sky, where it's not a truth, it's a falsity or something. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that'd be bad branding. Okay. No matter how much success we have had securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons. Okay. I mean, there's a debate to be had there. It's never enough for some people. We are about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years, and we have so much more to do. We are saving our country and making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. That actually is kind of fair. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020. All right. And arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. Again, not radical. Like Trump at the White House had a bunch of conservative influencers come in and wave around binders of Epstein Files. Turned out to really not include anything interesting. But yeah, you can blame a lot of people for this. I'm not sure Democrats are on that list. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing in 2024. Oh, all right. I don't remember doing that. That's what she is looking into, Pam Bondi, looking into as AG, and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead, all caps. Now it's the, quote, hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that was July 12th. A couple of days ago, we're recording this on Friday, July 25th. On Wednesday, the Wall Street Journal, which is a reputable paper owned by Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News and
a bunch of
other things, but he's traditionally on the right of
somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, right. Wall Street Journal reported that in May, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, told President Trump that his name appears multiple times in the, quote, truckload of documents that comprise the so-called Epstein Files. That his name is in the files doesn't mean he's guilty. I think Trump was.
Yeah.
Trump. It's well documented that Trump was friends with Epstein for about 15 years.
Not according to him, though.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So not well documented. It was well documented by others that Trump was friends with Epstein for about 15 years, and that before Epstein was first arrested, that they'd broken up. I think the different reasons cited are that Epstein was hitting on an underage girl at Mar-a-Lago, and so Trump banned him. I don't know all the details there, but if so, good for Trump. And then they had a tiff over a property both were interested in that Trump eventually got there in Palm Beach.
I think what I had read was that Epstein said at one point that he stopped being friends with him because he thought Trump was a crook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was from, I think, Epstein's brother, maybe. Which is pretty kind of a funny thing that a notorious, like the worst pedophile ever,
who also got very rich through means that are still kind of as yet unknown. There's a lot of mystery surrounding how he got as rich as he did anyway, but
to say that he will not interact with someone because they're a crook is kind of that's interesting.
That is interesting. Either because one, obviously he could be lying, which is entirely possible, and then two, I don't even know what to make of it. Just like,
well, it's
diss.
Yeah, how that just doesn't work.
Right. Anyway, what Trump is doing, like, so now you've reported that his name's in the Epstein Files. It would be really surprising if it weren't, and his name being in there, in a vast cache of investigative documents, does not at all mean that he is guilty. And I think Julie Brown, who was the investigative reporter who looked into all this, she says she hasn't seen any evidence that Trump is guilty. Obviously, Trump is not the most upstanding moral gentleman. He's, I think, credibly alleged to have cheated on all three of his model wives, and his private life was the subject of gossip magazines for decades, kind of at his behest. I think he played up his Playboy image. The Access Hollywood tape.
Yeah,
you can look at that as just locker room talk or whatever. I'm not even sure what that means. Or confession.
Did you see his interview on is it Howard Stern?
Howard Stern, yeah.
Yeah, did you see that?
Which one?
Well, he's asked, would you still bang 24-year-olds or something?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I have no problem. And then, this tells you what kind of a show the Howard Stern show is, where they're like, oh, well, how low would you go, basically?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I wouldn't want to do it like with like 12-year-olds or anything.
That's good.
Yeah, just one of those. It's like a moment where you have an opportunity to like say you're not a pedophile, basically, and he just doesn't say it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I wouldn't do 12-year-olds. Yeah.
Gross.
Of course,
Yeah. Ugh.
So
man, the Howard Stern show. Yeah, that's pretty.
So like the reason it's a big deal is because like back in 1970 or whenever Pam Bondi got the Epstein Files first,
yes,
she went on this public spree saying like,
yes,
we have the Epstein Files.
I've got a list. I'm gonna review on my desk,
and we're gonna release them as we can, and then all of a sudden they don't anymore.
Right.
And now come to find out, she had notified Trump that he was in there.
Yeah.
So, I wonder why they weren't released.
Yeah, that's strange.
And so it's very clearly, unless there's something else that we don't know, which is very possible, it's just very easy to say, okay, there's definitely something going on here.
So I would, it's funny. So I would be willing to believe that there are a great many significant famous people on both people with connections to politics on both sides of the aisle who were affiliated with Epstein in the sense that they were seen with him because he was a very active member of the rich person social scene in Palm Beach in New York for a lengthy period. Forgot how the sentence started, but there are a lot of powerful people connected to him in that sense who would be listed in investigative files but have not committed any crimes.
Yeah.
Entirely possible. And I think it is entirely
well, it's probably most likely that's the case.
Most likely, yeah.
Like not.
This is what I actually think is probably most likely.
Not every billionaire is a pedophile, probably.
No, and not every politician is a pedophile.
Probably.
And there are a lot of people who are not good. Like, let's say that Trump. Let's take him at his word and say that he would bang 24-year-olds, and probably has. But like, that's not illegal. That's wrong if you're married and much older, and it's like, so maybe it's just straight. It's a Bill Belichick call out right here. But like, maybe there are versions of that are morally wrong, just flat out because you're married. And then there are versions of that where it's just like, maybe you're not married and it's just gross.
Hey, he's a rich old guy, man.
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
It's something that, yeah, right. But none of that's illegal. There's a difference between there's a definite difference between gross age gaps, infidelity, which is bad, like moral crimes, and actual crimes. And like, breaking the law, sex trafficking of minors, all that. And I would imagine, very hard to believe that Epstein and Maxwell are the only guilty people involved in this whole thing.
Yeah.
But also very likely that there are people who would be included in the Epstein Files that are not guilty of either anything more than knowing Jeffrey Epstein and not knowing about the gross stuff, just as there are many people that knew Harvey Weinstein and might not have known of the gross stuff, or who, maybe knew of it or associated some other way. They went, like, he would hold conferences for scientists on his island and whatnot. And so maybe you go to the island for that and you don't know of the awful things that are happening elsewhere or have happened elsewhere at different times. And so you could see, successive federal governments having access to this information, and based on the harm that would be done to their own party in the court of public opinion, which does not abide by the same rules as a court of law, decide not to release the stuff. And like, yeah, it's entirely possible. Like, I'm sure Bill Clinton is in the Epstein Files in some way.
I think today there was something that came out about that.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so Democrats are like, well, we don't want to do that. Our guy.
They found a note from him in the same book.
Yeah. The 50th birthday. Thing. Yeah.
So if you're interpreting it like as favorably as you can.
Yeah.
Assuming that there is some bad stuff happening.
Yeah.
They could be trying to limit the damage done to America, maybe. Of saying, like, if we release this, not like Republicans, Democrats, all these people that we probably know by name or extremely influential people are on this list, and we don't know if they're involved or not, so we just shouldn't release it because it'll do more damage. Yeah. I can see that.
Yep.
But all I want is for them to just release everything they have. And let us go through it. Like, if it's going to be super, super complicated and they might never get through because of people like yourself.
Wait, what am I doing?
You're a lawyer.
Okay. Yes, of course.
I guess I should specify that. Because of you.
It's me personally. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If I feel it's going to take a long time to go through the evidence, but if there is anything, they should be investigated until you can't anymore with an issue like this.
Sure. That was another thing Brown said, is she doesn't understand why the government is treating this as a political issue and not a crime. Because there were crimes that were committed.
Yeah.
You should investigate them like you would crimes, and not as this political football. You try to balance all these things. So it's interesting. The House of Representatives, you have a bipartisan resolution to compel the release of those documents that can be released. Like there are some that will never see the light of day, should never see the light of day. It's child pornography. It's like awful stuff.
Do they have that?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Epstein
wow.
recorded a lot of stuff.
Oh, so he has. Oh, of course he did.
Yeah. No, I think Epstein is in the Hall of Fame of awful dudes. I don't know if he's in he's not in the pantheon of the true all-time greats probably, but he's a bad dude.
He's not on the Mount Rushmore of pedophiles.
Well, maybe of pedophiles,
Okay.
but is he Hitler? Probably not Hitler.
Yeah.
But in the inner sanctum Hall of Fame of evil in the history of the world, he's probably not all the way in there, but
yeah, well,
first ballot.
I mean, I don't need to see the actual evidence.
No, there's some stuff they will not release because
and they shouldn't.
No, what you don't want to release is anything that will harm victims. What you do want to release is stuff that could implicate, whatever information would not harm victims, I think people want to see.
Yeah.
And so the House of Representatives, there's a bipartisan resolution pending to compel the release of those documents that can be released, and then come what may. And so it's bipartisan. There are 11 Republican co-sponsors, 9 Democratic co-sponsors. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has been who's been it can be a tough job being the leader of a political group, because you really are playing politics a lot. But so what did he do? He canceled votes scheduled for yesterday, Thursday, in order to send House members home for August recess a day early and avoid a vote on that bipartisan resolution. He has been active in his defense of the president. So he argued on X that Republicans won't be lectured on transparency by the same Democrats who orchestrated yada, 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 the cover-up of Biden's obvious mental and physical decline. So the classic whataboutism.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We've already talked about on this show about how Joe Biden sucks. Okay. We all know. Who cares? Let's talk about the big pedophile.
Yeah. Well, so Thomas Massey.
I hate that so much. This, whatever his name is, Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
To me, he's scum.
Yeah.
He's on the same. He's not on the same level as the pedophiles themselves.
Sure. Right.
But it seems like if you're actively getting in the way of an investigation or a completion of finding out more about a pedophile, I can't defend that in my head. And I don't understand enough about politics to really understand why he would do that. But it seems like such an open and shut case for just, there's more information that might implicate other people that are pedophiles that are still free and out there. Mm-hmm. Oh, we don't want to vote on that.
So I think there's a distinction to be drawn here between, searching for more information and making information public. Because I think the debate right now is about making information available to the public, mm-hmm. not really the House of Representatives is not. Now, granted, investigations could come about because the information is released and you have a public outcry and then a lot of pressure to go after people. So you could have that. And I was bringing it up because Thomas Massey of Kentucky, who's very conservative, he's libertarian leaning. He's gone against the president a lot. But it's funny because it's usually for Republican reasons, and he gets, he gains Democratic fans every time he opposes the president, then loses them when they realize that he's like more conservative than the average Republican. Libertarian leaning, pretty sincere about cutting the budget or balancing it and stuff like that. But he responded to Johnson, "Why are you running cover for an underage sex trafficking ring and pretending this is a partisan issue? MAGA voted for this, for the release." I think that's right. And Trump is talking about trying to primary him and all these other things. It's an interesting issue. Like this, for now a decade, people have been saying like, oh, Trump's not going to be able to survive this. And then I think
it is so funny how many times that's come up.
Hundreds by this point.
Yeah.
And then it's I think the tweet that like the tweet that became a meme was like, let's see how Donnie wriggles his way out of this one. And then it's like wriggles his way out easily.
Yeah, it's a non-issue 2 days later.
Yeah. But with this, you can see how, as we've said 1,000 times before, this actually could be a problem depending on how they play it. Because right now, Republicans they're already facing an uphill battle to keep the House in 2026. Because you've got the big, beautiful bill, which I think whether or not it is as terrible as Democrats are painting it to be, they are painting it to be terrible, and it's not a difficult case to make. And the case in its favor, I think, is not being made with the same...
They're not doing a good job of explaining why it's good.
Yes, that was a good way to put that. Yeah, not doing a good job of that. And they have, this super narrow margin that we've already talked about. And so, it's just hard to keep the House very long if the public thinks you're not doing a really bang-up job. And the House margin, like people's view of Republicans, is going to be less durable than their view of the president, who does seem to have a very high floor and, might be popular for other reasons or whatever. So Republicans are already facing an uphill battle to keep the House. And then you have the big, beautiful bill. Then you have this, and if you get a lot of Republican infighting with people going after people like Massey and whatnot, who are being braver than some in opposing the president, and then if they survive it and do fine, like if Massey wins his primary, like if he wins his primary, he's going to remain in Congress. But if he can win his primary against Trump's opposition, then that might embolden other Republicans to take a more independent stance too, and yada yada. And that I don't think that's solely like anti-Trump wishful thinking. It's like this is a legitimate issue to a lot of people, and I think the country is much healthier. And this is true, Democrats, Republicans alike. It's much healthier when Congress views itself as a separate entity from the White House and is willing to, to fight the executive branch and to try to exert as much power as the legislative branch has. I think the country's a lot healthier when they're doing that. Anyway, that I have. We were talked for a little bit about this. I have two kind of big thoughts.
Oh, okay. We haven't gotten to the big thoughts yet.
No, that was all intro. Two kind of thoughts prompted by Epstein, because there's a lot that we can talk about that we're not saying anything new. We're not saying anything other people haven't said better and at greater length and with more information and whatnot. But I think there are 2 points that are really interesting to me that I want to talk about. So one is the banality of corruption. So the banality that I'm getting that from the banality of evil. So this is you go back 1963, a German-American writer and political theorist, Hannah Arendt, published Eichmann in Jerusalem, a report on the banality of evil, which was her analysis of the trial of Nazi official and SS officer Adolf Eichmann. So basically, Eichmann was one of the principal organizers of the Holocaust. He was there at the Wannsee conference where they planned the final solution. he was the one in charge of a lot of the logistics of sending people to ghettos and extermination camps. He was, even if he wasn't pulling the trigger or whatnot, he was responsible. He knew himself to be responsible for hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of the millions of deaths, and did some of or facilitated some of the worst crimes in human history. But her observation was that he wasn't really evil as we would understand an evil person to be, so much as an ordinary person who, under those circumstances, he was a joiner. He, sought to advance his standing within the context in which he found himself, and because of that, did these unbelievable things. But it was as much about the circumstances as it was about him. And the banality of evil is like, here is evil, but it's like kind of this ordinary, normal thing, an ordinary, normal guy that under these circumstances did horrific things. And that's a big topic. We can.
Well, I mean, my experience with that is when I worked in the juvenile justice system, and I would do intake interviews with some of the kids that would come in.
Yeah.
And I would do kind of basic tests and stuff. Nothing official, because I wasn't trained to do like real psychological intakes and stuff like that. But when I was interacting with there's one kid in particular who was 14, 15, something like that. And he had raped and murdered, I think, an 11-year-old.
Good gosh.
And he was messed up. Like, just talking to him, I could tell that, like, this kid had seen some stuff, had done some stuff, and it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. He's like he's not a normal human being.
Yeah.
But I met other kids that had done similar or worse things.
Yeah.
And then after talking to them, they seem like, oh, well, like that guy kind of seems like he's a normal person. Like they're just a regular kid.
Yeah.
Like laughing, joking about stuff. And that was probably the scarier part of my job, was that, like everyone can be normal. Yeah. And everyone is seemingly kind of normal. It's just there are these moments where they kind of turn into something else, or this part of them that they keep separate from everyone comes out. And I always do think about when, so it's a weird thing to always be thinking about, but I think it's funny when people say that they would be different in times like Nazi Germany. I think we even talked about this on the show at one point. But that's just humanity. We can be bad. Yeah. And it's not only people that were raised a certain way. It's not people that are living in a certain time. We have the capability of being really horrible human beings.
It's interesting. So even if you assume complete and total free will for everyone, let's start with that as our starting point, as we can. Mm-hmm. We do not come into the world. We come into the world with a particular nature. We have our DNA, and our brain is going to form a certain way and all that. But there's a whole lot left to go. Like, we come into this world with maybe some baked-in tendencies that will manifest over time, but we don't have information. We don't. We haven't been nurtured yet. Like there's a whole lot of molding and whatnot that is going to happen over the course of our life. Obviously a lot happens in the first couple of decades, and then we get to a point where we're changing a little bit less, but we continue to change and can continue to change right up until the point we die. And so, like, you take someone, And one piece of evidence for this, I think, is how like how we see such starkly different outcomes for people raised in two-parent households, or as opposed to being raised by single parents, or are raised in foster homes or whatnot. It's like you add all these different measures of stability, and you increase the quality of the schooling you get as a child, and you increase the financial resources that you have access to.
Nutrition.
Yeah, and all these things, and like it leads to all these better outcomes, not just in health, but in all these different ways. And I'm not articulating this the way I want to, but basic gist is that a lot of who we become is circumstantial. A lot of what we do is circumstantial. And that when she's writing about the banality of evil, like what's shocking about that, and people they took some issue with her book, I think specifically as it related to Eichmann, but I think the basic thesis still holds, which is that ordinary people under the wrong circumstances can commit extraordinary acts of evil without really thinking them to be so. Mm-hmm. So you think of the common thread, I think, between the Holocaust, the Holodomor, so that's the starvation of millions of Ukrainians in the 1930s by the Soviet Union, the Cambodian genocide, Khmer Rouge. Think of slavery and Jim Crow in the United States. You think of or the I don't know if genocide is the appropriate term, but the expulsion of the Native Americans from lands they once occupied. What unifies all of that, I think, a couple of things. One, all of it was done by humans. It's not like, there was nothing special, nothing, radically different about someone, that's raised in Germany and becomes a genocider, someone raised in Rwanda or that becomes a genocider, or, Cambodia or wherever. Mm-hmm. Or like to go back to the United States, there was no like genetic difference in someone raised in the South who views black people as people that should be owned, and someone in the North that maybe doesn't have the most egalitarian views on things, but does not believe that. No, the difference is not like genetic. There's nothing magic or nothing magic like that. It's what you are raised to believe, and that. The second part of that is, I think, a common feature among all these different groups that did horrible things is that they viewed the people they were doing the bad things to as somehow less than human. And because they do not have the same status, they do not need to be treated the same way. And
so are you saying that the innocent Trump went to Jeffrey Epstein's island one time and then saw what was happening there and is like, well, I guess this is just what billionaires do, and drops trowel?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Not exactly. But I do think people, that there are a lot of people that, the further away they are from government and power, the more mysterious it seems, and the more mysterious what people in those positions do seems. And I think, so this is where we get away from evil and get into more just like normal corruption. So much less evil than genocide and pedophilia and all those things. So forget about that. That's set a very serious tone, but getting more to just like normal stuff. Normal everyday, like, like mild indiscretions and whatnot. Like what people do, it seems very mysterious, but like politicians and, very wealthy people, they tend to be really normal. They're normal people who are subject to different influences and have different opportunities. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to circle around this point for a good hour before we make it. Let's see. So here's one example.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go through this a few times. Okay, so one example Bill Burr has this big bit. We actually might have talked about it before, where he's talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tiger Woods, I think, and he might be talking about Kobe Bryant too. I can't remember. And these are all guys who very famously cheated on their spouses. And he said, he's talking about people going on TV and just,
Reprehensible
yeah,
behavior.
exactly. Yeah, talking about their reprehensible behavior and doing these things. Mm-hmm. When the people that are blaming them most vociferously have no idea what it's like to be in that position where you are, like it's one thing to never commit infidelity if you never have an opportunity, and it's another thing to never commit it if you have had a gajillion opportunities.
So that's kind of what I meant by the Donald Trump
showing a little
up
bit
to the island.
Yeah. I just don't want to imply something about Trump that might not be
cutie
true.
pie, doe-eyed Trump,
Right.
showing up to the island.
Completely innocent.
And then all of a sudden, bam, oh, this is what we're supposed to do?
Right. Well, and you think, here's another example. A lot of Congress people have done, I know, disgusting. They've done some form of insider trading. Okay, they have taken information that they have learned because of their position in Congress or because they know people who know people or whatever, and they have then engaged in trading on the market that has been deemed to be illegal. They've made money based on that information that was not publicly available.
And that's illegal.
It is. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It is. But it's kind of funny when you think about it, because what would you do? It's actually a question. If you take 150 people, just normal people, take 150 people and you give all of them this great insider info about this company that's about to be worth really a lot, or this company they're invested in that is going to tank and lose all its value, how many of those people, normal people to that point, are not going to take advantage of that insider information? I think you'll have a mix.
Yeah.
I think you'll have a mix.
I mean, there's businesses dedicated to tracking politicians' financial stuff. Where they'll say, this person just bought blah blah blah. This person just sold blah blah blah.
Right. I think the point is, maybe this actually kind of drifts into the second point, which is that an untested principle is really a hypothesis. So, like, you might have, let's say you have this set of principles by which you abide, and I have a specific one that I'm thinking of that we'll get to in a second. But then, if those principles have never been tested, how do you know you really, like, maybe you believe in the principle, but you don't know that you can live by it? So, here's an example. This comes up a lot, or it feels relevant now. It's relevant again. So I think virtually everyone, would prefer to be led by morally upright people, by morally upright politicians. You think that's a fair statement?
I think it is.
All things being equal. Like if you have two people that have the exact same amount of charisma, the exact same policies, and one of them is just like, has committed a gajillion infidelities and the other one hasn't.
I guess it depends on if you can make money off the guy that's less upright and who you want to vote for at that point.
It's all things being equal. So you're going to make the same amount of money off both of them. Then you would, I think people would take the non-bad person. So Megyn Kelly, she went on the New York Times podcast, The Interview, in March, and she said, I don't give a shiz about Trump getting handsy with somebody 20 years ago. I want someone who will close the border, which he has. I want someone who will keep boys out of my daughter's sports, which he has. I want someone who will stand up to the insane DEI policies so that white kids will stop hearing in school that they're born with some original sin from which they cannot recover, which he has. And it's interesting to hear her say that, because I don't know 10 years ago if Republicans would have said that quite the same way. I think basically that there are people on both sides of the aisle who, anytime there's someone that is corrupt or morally bad in some way on the other side, they like to say, look at these people on the other side. Look at the sort of character that they're willing to support. These are bad people. We on our side are righteous and would not support such people. And then you have this whole thing where now it kind of flips, and now they're put in a position where their main guy is not really a good person and they vote for him. And I think that's not because people don't care about character. I think it's because it is probably for good reason not people's top priority.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like what Kelly is articulating there, I think it's easy for a lot of people to disagree with her particular priorities. But like if you have, I mean, the reality is if someone is in the White House and this is not a good person, you've cheated on their spouse, maybe they're not a particularly loving parent, or or whatever, some normal bad things, or maybe even if they've done a little bit of insider trading and made more money than they should in the stock market, that has a really limited impact on, say, farmers in Iowa or people in Arizona or Florida, states away. Whereas the policies that person might push might have a very big impact.
Yeah, I saw it when I was in Michigan, in rural Michigan, like people, yeah, like the fact that he was a cheater and blah, 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 that was something that they didn't like.
Yeah.
But it just came down to, abortion in a lot of cases and the border.
Yep.
And that's it. Like it didn't really matter that the person in charge was who they were, as long as they were moving forward the policies that they thought were most important.
Yeah.
So I think if Trump hadn't done the border stuff by now, I think it'd be a lot worse, like even worse than it is now, because he has a lot of people that are very happy about the border stuff that he's doing.
Yeah.
Because that's why they voted for him.
Yeah.
And the polls show that too, that one of his only positives, I think, is from his own voter base in.
Yeah. Well, and I think kind of two takeaways from this. One is that both sides do this. Obviously, Republicans for a long time.
Yeah. There is no
right.
There's no party separation here.
Right. I was
sure
going to say, Republicans for a long time, when Bill Clinton, you had Clinton Lewinsky in 98 and Clinton's various other issues, and Republicans had, they had this, pedestal from which they could stand and point at the sinful Democrats. And then you fast forward a little bit and they're voting for Donald Trump, who is, again, not like a good guy. But then at the same time, the Democrats are limited, at least from a Republican perspective. That's another thing for people to understand, is that it's not enough to convince yourself that you are somehow different and what you have done is less bad than what the opposition has done. You have to convince them that what you've done is less bad, and no one really ever manages to do that. Mm-hmm. The other side always looks worse, kind of no matter what the situation is. But Bill Clinton remains, a very popular figure within the Democratic Party, at least kind of nationally, because though he is not a good guy in many traditional senses, and especially in the wake of Me Too, people kind of looked at him, I think, briefly, and thought it's kind of weird to have him speaking at everything like this lifetime dean of the Democratic Party. But he remains as popular as he is because outside the character issues, he's unbelievably good at some things people really care about. He is incredibly charismatic. He is generally regarded as when I say generally, I mean regarded by many as a successful president. Certainly someone who even if not all his policies were good, won.
Yeah.
He won 2 elections. He was president. He was popular
and
when
the
he was
economy
president.
specifically.
Yeah, the economy did well.
The budgeting, stuff
and
like that.
He's seen as having played a positive role in, I think, pushing Obama's, helping Obama win, at least, in 2012. Obviously, Hillary and Obama faced each other in the primary in 2008. But anyway, like, he retains this like noble royal position within the Democratic Party because outside these genuine character issues, he's not the sort of person that shows up every day.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump retains his position in the Republican Party despite these fairly obvious character issues because he's not the sort of person that turns up every day. And so, but it's interesting where that leaves us, because I don't think it's right to say that no one cares about character, and I also don't think we should not care about character. But I do think we should probably be more honest about where it sits in our list of priorities, and also maybe be less enthusiastic about blaming the other party's supporters for being so willing to overlook character, when I'm pretty sure it's both sides that are very comfortable with it.
Well, now I'm imagining a Bill Clinton going to the island now. He's all innocent, and he shows up. He's like, "Oh, this is what we do." Oh man, I didn't want to do this, but I guess when in Epstein's island.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man.
That's interesting. I guess maybe as a cynic or whatever you want to call me, someone that hates everything.
Sure.
And doesn't have hope in anything. Of course.
Cynic, yeah.
Of course, everyone sucks. So, all of our political leaders probably suck. I wish we'd have ones that, weren't pedophiles.
I think we probably do.
I think we do.
Yeah.
And I think we probably have for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should rip off this Band-Aid responsibly if we can, and irresponsibly if we can't, because I feel like if there is not public pressure on specific individuals instead of just like this cabal of pedophile rapists that we don't know, but if we can point to, oh, this guy or this girl, whatever, whoever's in charge, if we can't put specific scrutiny on certain people, I understand that there are people that aren't related to him at all, but the truth has to come out somehow. And
yeah. So let's end with 2 positive takeaways, because I think there are two.
I'd rather not be positive.
No, I think we can make it positive. So
okay, all right.
One,
I'll let you handle this then.
All right. So one is that we are going to release files, okay, and we're going to release them kind of a darn the torpedoes and consequences sort of thing. Yes, there are some people who are going to have a tough ride in the court of public opinion for a stretch.
Hopefully most of those people are not involved, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. There are going to be people that are, it's like their name's going to be in the Epstein Files, but then there's not going to be any evidence and they're going to be innocent. And it might be a tough road for a bit, but it'll be better on the whole in the long run for us to have that information.
And they'll be in this huge long list of people that are just caught up in this thing because there's no evidence.
Yeah. And it will be what it is, but it'll be good to know. And then the other thing, this is where we get back to this banality of evil and corruption thing, is that basic point that a lot of what humans do is circumstantial goes the other way. A lot of the good we do is circumstantial. And so there are things we can do to create systems and to promote things, like to promote good. And so, at the same time that Like, if you have a Hitler and a Himmler and a Goering and a Heydrich or whatever, you can get millions of people to do truly atrocious, evil things. If you have people, like, maybe let's divide people into three camps. And the far left pole, you have the evil benders. They are those who are, they are, however they got there, why, we don't really know, but they are kind of evil in and of themselves, and they will work hard to make other people evil. Mm-hmm. And if they're, and then on the far other corner, you have like Mr. Rogers and
the GOAT.
Yeah. And people that are just straight up good and influence others to be good, like for them, it's not really circumstantial. They're just good. And, and their good can spread. And then you have a lot of us in the middle who are the bendies, and we can be influenced one way or the other. And I think all of us probably have our foot, it's possible to have our foot in the really good camp in one sense, in one, and then be here in the middle the rest of the time, maybe subject to a little more peer pressure in certain respects and less in others. And so, and maybe there's some people who, under certain circumstances would end up really quite evil, but absent that, can just be here in the middle, be influenced for good. Anyway, if you set up the rules and the laws and whatnot and your culture to promote good, and I think a lot of that can be done, then you multiply the good stuff.
So what you're saying is we should eliminate negative words from our vocabulary until it gets to the point where we don't use those things anymore. We don't know what they are, and then we won't do them.
That would be one approach. Maybe you could try that. You could set up an experiment where you set up a little commune in the desert and only give them a limited vocabulary and see what happens. That would be one approach. Some other things I was thinking of, like practical, one example would be, let's go back to that insider trading thing. That there are currently laws. I mean, this is, I got back to our trolling discussion. Senator, Missouri. Senator Missouri. Oh gosh.
Wow,
this is funny.
You suck at this.
Yeah, Hawley. Insane. My gosh, Josh Hawley. Senator Hawley, I would apologize, but I'll do only half-heartedly. But anyway, he has the Pelosi Act that he's tried to push through. I forget what it stands for, but it's like preventing elected leaders from owning securities and
investments,
something like that. And like that's a law that requires good behavior. And there are a lot of times where you don't want a law to require good behavior. You want, a culture to promote it, but you don't want to actually require people to do certain things. But there are some things that I think are more appropriately legislated, like don't murder would be, I think, an example that most people are on board with. Like we should have a law against murder.
Yeah.
But we have these laws to promote good behavior, and if we have a good system of laws that promotes this good behavior, then you have better behavior.
And also enforcing, as much as I hate paperwork and stuff like that, enforcing good record keeping, I think, is very important for moments like this where we're looking back on evidence of things. And I think a lot of trust that I have in the government would be based on proper record keeping.
Yeah.
And when things are missing or aren't adding up, that's when it goes all the way down. Like a minute missing from the
Epstein video.
From the Epstein video.
Yeah.
And then it
was 2.5 minutes, wasn't it?
I don't know how much it was, but it was clearly tampered with, and in the files you could tell it had been through editing software.
Yeah.
Things that inspire confidence are just strict record keeping. At like a bare minimum.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would enforce that for other things in general, but just knowing exactly what happened would help.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there should be no stock market interaction with anyone that has any information
Hmm.
at the top there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I mean, there are a couple of religious principles that I think of right here.
Oh,
One.
jeez.
Yeah. I. It's good, I think, for elected leaders to avoid the appearance of evil, not just avoid the evil itself. For the sake of promoting that trust in the government. I think trust is an important binder of a diverse nation, and part of promote it. So transparency tends to be trust promoting, or the semblance of
The
transparency,
appearance of.
the appearance of
Mhm.
transparency. And yeah, where you take a hit here is where the government has done something untrustworthy, and you have to be transparent about it. So when you get the after the fact disclosures, where it's like the government did what, so that tends to suck. But yeah, transparency generally is good. As a general rule, that's we can have a discussion kind of analyzing that, but generally speaking, transparency is good, and then things like I think the Pelosi Act's a good idea.
We're screwed, man.
I disagree. If we have a
I mean, I'm actually pretty. I'm proud that there seems to be a lot of people that care a lot about this issue.
yeah.
I'm. I mean, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, "Well, yeah, of course, everyone cares about this. Like, this would be
Yeah.
a top issue."
Yeah.
But watching Trump just shrug off thing after thing,
Yeah.
and admittedly, and especially in retrospect, looking back, him making fun of a reporter for being disabled,
Mm.
like anyone else would have been screwed by that.
Yeah.
He wasn't, right? So
Right. Teflon.
like the things that have piled up over time of the things that he's done that have just riled feathers. I
Yeah.
can't remember what the term is for the something bar for political things when someone does something it means other people can do the same thing later with less consequences.
Are you talking about the Overton window?
I don't know, maybe
Maybe. I don't know.
something. I guess I thought it was bar.
Maybe.
Whatever.
We might be talking
Yeah,
about different things.
but that he basically has made it easier for less what's the opposite of uncouth?
He's made he's made it couth.
Well, yeah, like it's cooler to be someone that acts like a POS basically
Yeah.
and just doesn't
Yeah.
care about anything.
He's normalized certain behaviors that
Yeah.
previously were not
And
publicly
and like
acceptable.
admittedly at certain times I like that. Like not mocking people that are disabled obviously, but it's kind of funny when he says stuff. It's like, okay, this is clearly an American person saying some American thing. It's like, okay, well, that's cool that the president gets to do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like that's been a negative.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, he kept getting away with all this stuff, and it was either explained away by fake news or it doesn't really matter because he's doing XYZ for policy.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that people still care as much as they do,
Yeah.
just because of how hard he's been at work to distract
Yeah.
from everything. And I feel like he did the same thing he always does at a controversy, which is, oh, well, either that's not real or that's not really how it happened or it doesn't really matter. And he went with the, oh, well, they don't exist at first and then now they exist. And so it's,
Yeah.
oh, they were made up by Obama. And now we're getting more and more information, and his usual tactics of saying this doesn't matter and waving his hand like a Jedi, saying these aren't the Epstein files are not the files you're looking for. You know, that's not working.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look super great for him. I just hope there's justice in some form, and we can eventually get through all the information instead of just having all these people get away free.
I'm gonna I'm gonna push back on what I said earlier.
Not allowed.
Dang. I think we can. I mean, we can have our cake and eat it too. Like we can. It is absolutely possible to push for the political ends you want, but to do so with character. Like for every Bill Clinton or Donald Trump, someone out there who will serve as the vehicle to get to some particular political end, there is someone that could do the same thing, but is a good person.
But can that person be elected?
I don't know. But you know what? Darn it, yes.
Like Mitt Romney seemed like an okay person.
Yeah.
Especially in comparison, looking.
He was, now, to be fair, he was going against Obama, who I think is also
right.
Fairly good person.
But just
I know.
Someone that could be elected, as a Republican. Like I don't think Mitt Romney would be able to win.
Not today.
I mean, he obviously wouldn't be able to win at any point in history, as it seems. But you would want someone that's at least forward facing as being a good person, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Darn it! Hopefully in 2028, we get a lot of. We're not asking for like Mother Teresa and Gandhi and, the second coming of Jesus Christ on the ballot. Mm-hmm. If we get those things, great. But in the interim, like
J.D. Vance versus Bernie Sanders is what you want.
I actually wouldn't totally hate it. At least I wouldn't be.
How old is Bernie Sanders, actually?
He's getting younger every year. I think he's in his 60s now. No, he's in his 80s. He's old.
Jeez.
But man, he's vibrant.
Yeah, he is.
He's really vibrant.
Until the story comes out that he has all these things later.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, no, I think there are a lot of very smart people in the United States who are also good. And in theory, we could be led by them.
Maybe.
As of right now, it does remain a theory. It's a tough blow. When you look at, Biden, that was, there are different kinds of not goodness, and I think he showed one of those kinds.
Yeah.
At least one of those kinds. Yeah. I keep trying to be positive, and then we keep coming around to...
everything sucks, dude.
Dang it. Well, okay, let's end with that. So with Epstein, so the point, I think the points for personal takeaways, that we all have the potential to be good, and we all have the potential to do some bad. Let's try to do some good. And that I think is actually, that I think is the takeaway.
All right, I won't say anything else.
Okay, no, let's see. Okay, we all have the potential to do bad, and we have the potential to do good, and so let's choose the good and do that instead of the bad. And then also, we should remember that, like a good reminder of that potential to do bad is that, people doing bad, they're human. They're not different species. People in power. There's not some like weird conspiracy to rule the world, which I'm aware it's just people. Just people. And so,
and people suck.
No, what? Dang it!
Oh wait.
No, people have stunning potential for good.
Yeah, we control what we do, and some people are bad at it.
Let's just end with: we humans have extraordinary potential to do good even when it doesn't accrue to our own immediate advantage.
Amen.
Amen. Yes. Okay, good. Excellent. We'll end with that. And that was another episode of the Neophytes, brought to you by Dr. Pepper Zero, Monster, Bethpage State Park in Long Island. Water, provided by the Lord and public utility system, and lined paper on which it's easy to write. All right. Thank you. All right. And that was the interview. Thank you very much for listening. If you wouldn't mind, please do leave a review for the podcast. I believe those are important. And subscribe to the newsletter, which will be linked in the show notes, or can be found at neverclosetheinquiry.substack.com. Thanks.